Prime Video is sitting on some of the best thriller series you've probably never heard of, and I'm going to fix that today. We've got 12 shows on the list, a British serial killer drama that might be the best cat and mouse thriller ever put on television, a supernatural horror show set on a Scottish oil rig that I genuinely cannot believe isn't more popular, and the sci-fi western with an actual black hole in someone's backyard. Yes, that's a real show. We've also got the original Chinese adaptation of The Three-Body Problem before Netflix got their hands on it, and the German fantasy series that punches way above its budget. All the streaming availability info is in the first pinned comment below, so check that out. And if you'd rather get your series recommendations, hit subscribe and I'll make sure your queue is always stacked. Let's get into it. My strongest recommendation on this entire list, and I want to lead with it because I think it's genuinely one of the best thriller series ever made, is The Fall. This is a British crime drama that ran for 3 seasons starting in 2013, and it follows a detective hunting a serial killer in Belfast. Now I know that sounds like the setup for about 1,000 different shows, but The Fall does something most of them don't. You know who the killer is from the very first episode. There's no mystery there. What the show is actually doing is running 2 parallel character studies side by side, the hunter and the hunted, and asking you to sit with that discomfort for the entire run. Gillian Anderson plays the detective, and she is ice cold and brilliant and completely magnetic. Jamie Dornan plays the killer, and look, I know that's a strange sentence to type, but he is genuinely unsettling in this role. The pacing is slow and deliberate, which I know isn't for everyone, but if you can get into it, this show does not let go. 3 seasons, all on Prime, start tonight. Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan is probably the most well-known show on this list, but I still run into people who haven't seen it, so it stays. 4 seasons, John Krasinski playing a CIA analyst who keeps getting pulled into field operations against his better judgment. And honestly, against the audience's better judgment too, because this guy looks like he should be filing reports, not running through war zones. But it works. Krasinski is legitimately great in this role. Every season drops him into a new international crisis, and the production values are absurd for a streaming show. I mean, this genuinely looks like they had a film budget for every single episode. Wendell Pierce as his handler is fantastic too. Every scene those two share has this great push-pull dynamic. It's not a slow burn show, it's propulsive, smart, and satisfying in a way that big action thrillers don't always manage. If you want something that feels like a really good movie spread across 4 seasons, this is it.
Something is coming. Something is happening.
Outer Range is the kind of show that's very hard to pitch to someone, and I think that's exactly why it didn't find a bigger audience. Josh Brolin plays a Wyoming rancher dealing with a land dispute with his neighbors. Fine, normal, a little slow, and then there's a bottomless black void in his field, and the show just kind of treats that like another problem he has to deal with. It's got this deadpan, almost Coen Brothers energy, where the supernatural and the mundane sit right next to each other, and nobody is nearly as alarmed as they should be.
Only be a few days. Autumn.
Raw.
Glad.
Imogen Poots shows up as this drifter who seems to know more than she should, and her scenes with Brolin are great. 2 seasons. The first one drew me in, and the second one went some places I didn't expect. It's not perfect. The mythology gets a little tangled, but it's genuinely original, which counts for a lot. Worth watching just to say you saw the weird Wyoming black hole show before everyone else finds it.
Isn't your own?
You don't know me.
The Devil's Hour is the most underrated show on Prime Video. I'll stand on that. It's a British thriller, 2 seasons, starring Peter Capaldi and Jessica Raine, and it follows a social worker who wakes up at exactly 3:33 a.m. every single night. Paralyzed, terrified, and then she starts getting tangled up in a series of local murders. That setup sounds like a fairly standard supernatural thriller, but what the show is actually doing structurally with time and memory and fate is so much more interesting than that. It reveals itself slowly, and when it clicks, it really clicks. Capaldi plays a criminal who claims to remember the future, and his performance is one of the best things I've seen on streaming television in years. Quiet and deeply threatening in a way that just crawls under your skin. 2 seasons and it earns every episode. I genuinely don't understand why more people aren't talking about this show. If you watch one thing from this list, make it this. The Kettering Incident is an Australian sci-fi mystery thriller from 2016 that almost nobody has seen, which is a shame because Elizabeth Debicki is extraordinary in it. She plays a woman who left her Tasmanian hometown as a teenager after her best friend mysteriously disappeared, and when she comes back 15 years later, another girl goes missing the same way. The show has this incredibly dense atmosphere, dark forests, heavy fog, this overwhelming sense that something is very wrong and nobody is saying it out loud. It reminded me a lot of Nordic noir in terms of pacing and mood, except it's set in rural Australia, which gives it its own distinct flavor. Debicki won an actor award to this role, and watching it, you completely understand why. Does the mystery fully resolve? Not entirely, and that will frustrate some people, but the atmosphere and Debicki's performance alone make it worth the time. One season, criminally overlooked. The Consultant is a strange one. One season, Amazon Original, 2023. It stars Christoph Waltz as a corporate consultant who shows up at a mobile gaming company after its CEO dies under mysterious circumstances, and he immediately starts running the place in these bizarre, almost ritualistic ways, pitting employees against each other, making demands that don't make any logical sense, and being relentlessly, quietly terrifying about all of it. The show has this absurdist quality, like if someone set a horror movie inside a tech startup and played it completely straight. Waltz was clearly born to play this character. The way he delivers every line, totally pleasant, completely menacing, is something special. The show has real pacing issues and the ending is divisive, I'll be honest about that, but Waltz's performance is the kind of thing you keep thinking about after the credits roll. If you're a fan of his, this is essential viewing. If you're not, this might make you one. GRACEPOINT is a 2014 American crime drama. One season, 10 episodes, and it follows the investigation of a 12-year-old boy found on a beach in a small coastal town. David Tennant plays the lead detective as this closed-off outsider who's brought in to run the case, and Anna Gunn plays the local cop who actually knows and loves everyone in that community. That tension between them drives a lot of the show. Now, if you know Broadchurch, the British series from the same year, you'll recognize the template immediately. Tennant was in that one too. GRACEPOINT is essentially an American remake, and remakes like this almost never work, but GRACEPOINT mostly does. It has its own identity, the performances are strong, the mystery is well constructed, and the emotional weight of the investigation feels genuinely real. One tight, self-contained season that respects your time and delivers a proper ending. Good show. TROPPO is an Australian crime drama that ran for 2 seasons starting in 2022, and it flew completely under the radar internationally, which I don't really understand. Thomas Jane plays a disgraced ex-cop living quietly in far north Queensland. Hot, remote, kinda hostile, and his life gets upended when he teams up with a sharp, difficult private investigator played by Nicole Shamoun to find a missing person in a small town. What starts as a fairly contained mystery opens up into something messier and darker as the season goes on. The show has this great, dry, uncomfortable humor that feels very specifically Australian. The two leads have this awkward, unresolved chemistry that works really well. Neither of them is fully functional, and watching them try to work together is both funny and genuinely tense. 2 seasons, rough around the edges in a way that feels intentional rather than sloppy. If you liked something like True Detective but want it sweatier and more deadpan, give this one a shot. Before Netflix made 3 Body Problem, China made 3 Body. And honestly, more people in the West should have seen this version. It's a 2023 adaptation of Leo Cixin's novel, 30 episodes, directed by Yang Lei and Vincent Yang, and it follows a nanotech specialist who gets pulled into investigating a series of mysterious suicides among scientists, which leads into something much larger involving an extraterrestrial mystery and the future of humanity. The show stays very faithful to the source material, which the Netflix version doesn't always do, and the visuals are genuinely stunning. Now, 30 episodes at a slow pace is a real commitment, and I understand that keeps a lot of people away. But if you've read the book and wanted a serious adaptation, or if you watched the Netflix version and wanted something that goes deeper into Cixin's actual story, this is it. Critically acclaimed in China when it released, still pretty obscure everywhere else. That gap shouldn't exist.
I challenge you!
War and Peace is a 2016 BBC miniseries adaptation, 6 episodes, and yes, I know, Tolstoy, historical drama, sounds like homework. But this show is genuinely entertaining in a way that surprises people. Andrew Davies adapted it, and he has a real gift for making huge, dense literary material feel cinematic and alive. The cast is remarkable. Paul Dano, Lily James, Brian Cox, Gillian Anderson, Jessie Buckley before she was Jessie Buckley, everyone is great. The Napoleonic Wars backdrop gives the whole thing this sweeping epic quality, but what the show's really about is these characters chasing love and meaning and identity through an era of chaos. 6 tight episodes, gorgeous to look at, way more fun than it has any right to be given the source material. If you've always been curious about the novel but never quite made it through, this is a completely legitimate entry point. Real quick, if you've gone to this far and you've already added 3 or 4 of these to your list, that's exactly what this channel is for. Hit subscribe so you never miss one of these videos, and if this one was useful, the like button is the fastest way to let me know. 2 more to go, let's finish it.
After a powerful tsunami struck the North Sea coastline.
The Rig might be the most slept-on show in Prime Video's entire library. It's a British supernatural thriller, 2 seasons, first one dropped in 2023, set entirely on a Scottish oil rig in the North Sea. A mysterious fog rolls in, cuts the crew off from the outside world completely, and people start getting sick in ways that don't make any medical sense. And then a scientist on the rig discovers something has been unearthed from the ocean floor. The show is part supernatural horror, part ecological thriller, and it blends those tones really well. Ian Glenn is excellent as the rig manager. He's basically doing a grittier, more desperate version of the same authority under pressure character he's always great at. The visuals are impressive for a streaming series, the atmosphere is genuinely oppressive, and the environmental angle gives a horror real thematic weight. It's not just scary for scary's sake. The Rig has something to say. 2 seasons and neither one waste your time. I don't know why this isn't talked about more. Last one, and this one is a little different from everything else on the list. The GRYPHON is a German fantasy thriller from 2023, 6 episodes, based on a novel by Wolfgang and Heike Holbein. It follows a young outcast who discovers his family is connected to a dangerous parallel world, a dark tower realm, and he gets pulled into it with very little preparation and very little warning. Now, this is not a massive budget fantasy production. It doesn't have the resources of something like The Witcher or House of the Dragon, but what it has is energy and genuine commitment to its story, and it builds real atmosphere on what is clearly a limited budget. The final episode has the highest rating on IMDb for the season, which tells you the show sticks to landing. If you want something that feels different from the usual English language fantasy output, something scrappier and more urgent, this is worth your 6 episodes. It's a quick watch, man, it earns a second season if it gets one. Alright, that's all 12. Drop in the comments which one you're watching first, and if you've already seen any of these, let me know what you thought. All the streaming availability is in the first pinned comment. If you got value out of this video, the like button is the quickest way to tell me, and I'll keep making these as long as you keep watching them.